Fact number 1. Love activates the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine, the same chemical triggered by pleasure and motivation. When you fall in love, something extraordinary happens inside your brain. Scientists have discovered that love activates the brain's reward system, the same neural network that lights up when we experience pleasure, eat delicious food, or achieve a personal goal. At the center of this process is a powerful chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is often called the feel-good neurotransmitter because it creates feelings of pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation. When you are with someone you love, or even just thinking about them, your brain releases a surge of dopamine, flooding your system with warmth and happiness. This is why being in love can feel so energizing and exciting. Your brain is literally rewarding you for connecting with another person. Researchers using brain imaging technology have been able to watch this process in real time, confirming that love is not just an abstract feeling. It is a measurable biological event happening right inside your mind. Fact number 2. Falling in love takes as little as 1/5 of a second neurologically. We often imagine falling in love as a slow, romantic process that unfolds over weeks or months. But neuroscience tells us something surprising. The initial neurological process of falling in love can happen in as little as 1/5 of a second. That is faster than the blink of an eye. In that tiny fraction of time, your brain releases a complex cocktail of chemicals, including dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline, and vasopressin, that together create the overwhelming rush of feelings we associate with falling in love. Researchers at Syracuse University who studied this phenomenon found that these chemicals trigger activity in 12 different areas of the brain simultaneously. Of course, building a deep, lasting bond with someone takes much longer. But that first spark, that instant recognition of attraction and connection, is a lightning-fast neurological event. This is why people sometimes talk about love at first sight. It is not just poetry. There is real science behind the speed of the heart. Fact number 3. Looking into a loved one's eyes for just a few minutes can synchronize your heart rates. There is something deeply powerful about eye contact between two people in love. Studies have shown that when couples gaze into each other's eyes for just a few minutes, their heart rates begin to synchronize, beating in the same rhythm, as if their bodies are communicating in a language beyond words. This phenomenon is known as physiological synchrony, and it reflects the deep connection that forms between two people who are emotionally bonded. Researchers who studied couples found that those who were more in love showed stronger heart rate synchronization during mutual eye gazing. This is not just a metaphor for closeness, it is a measurable physical reality. The body, it seems, responds to love in concrete ways. Eye contact also triggers the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which deepens feelings of trust and affection. So when someone says, "I can see love in your eyes," they may be pointing to something more literal than they realize. Fact number 4. Love triggers the release of oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is one of the most fascinating chemicals in the human body, and it plays a central role in how we experience love and connection. Often nicknamed the bonding hormone or the love hormone, oxytocin is released in large amounts during moments of intimacy, including hugging, kissing, holding hands, and even during meaningful conversations with someone we care about. This hormone is produced in the hypothalamus, a region deep in the brain, and it travels through the bloodstream and the nervous system to create feelings of warmth, trust, and emotional closeness. Oxytocin is also the same hormone that bonds mothers to their newborn babies immediately after birth, which is why it is so powerfully connected to our deepest emotional attachments. In romantic relationships, regular release of oxytocin helps strengthen the bond between partners over time, making love feel more secure and stable. It is nature's own glue, holding people together through the chemistry of care. Fact number 5. The brain in love closely resembles the brain on certain euphoria-inducing substances. Scientists who have studied the brains of people deeply in love have found something striking. The neurological patterns of romantic love closely resemble those seen in individuals under the influence of certain euphoria-inducing substances. Using functional MRI brain scans, researchers have observed that love activates the same reward pathways, the same dopamine circuits, and produces many of the same psychological effects, including intense focus, heightened energy, decreased need for sleep, and feelings of euphoria. This similarity explains why falling in love can feel so intoxicating, and why losing love can feel so painful, much like withdrawal. However, unlike harmful substances, love, especially true, healthy love, has overwhelmingly positive long-term effects on mental and physical health. The comparison simply helps us understand the raw power of love as a neurological experience. It is one of the most potent natural states the human brain can enter, and science is only beginning to fully understand its depth. Fact number 6. Romantic love and maternal love activate very similar regions of the brain. One of the most touching discoveries in neuroscience is that romantic love and a mother's love for her child activate remarkably similar regions of the brain. Both types of love trigger activity in the reward system, releasing dopamine and oxytocin, and both involve areas associated with deep attachment, motivation, and positive emotion. Researchers who used brain imaging to compare the two found that both romantic partners gazing at their loved ones and mothers looking at their babies showed activation in the same core neural circuits. This suggests that at its root, love, whether between partners or between parent and child, shares a common biological foundation. Both are expressions of the same fundamental human drive to form deep, lasting bonds. This finding also helps explain why the love we experience in our earliest relationships with our parents can shape how we love romantically as adults. Love, in all its forms, is wired deeply into who we are. Fact number 7. Serotonin levels in early love are similar to those seen in people with OCD, explaining obsessive thinking about a partner. Have you ever been in the early stages of love and found yourself unable to stop thinking about that person? You replay conversations, imagine future moments together, and find your mind drifting to them dozens of times a day. There is a scientific explanation for this. Research has found that people in the early stages of romantic love have lower levels of serotonin, a neurotransmitter associated with mood regulation and calmness, similar to the levels observed in individuals with obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD. Low serotonin is linked to repetitive, intrusive thoughts and a fixation on particular subjects. In love, that fixation becomes the person you are falling for. This is why early love can feel all-consuming and sometimes even overwhelming. The good news is that as love deepens and matures into a stable long-term relationship, serotonin levels tend to normalize, and that initial obsessive quality softens into something warmer, calmer, and more sustainable. True companionate love. Fact number 8. Physical touch from a loved one can reduce cortisol, stress hormone, levels significantly. In today's busy and often stressful world, one of the most powerful remedies is surprisingly simple: the touch of someone who loves you. Scientific research has consistently shown that physical contact from a loved one, whether a hug, a gentle hand on the shoulder, or holding hands, can significantly reduce levels of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Cortisol is released when we face pressure, anxiety, or perceived danger. Chronically elevated cortisol can lead to serious health problems, including heart disease, weakened immunity, and mental health challenges. But when we are touched by someone we love and trust, our nervous system responds by calming down, slowing our heart rate, and lowering cortisol production. This is one reason why people in loving relationships often report feeling less stressed, even when facing difficult life circumstances. A loving touch is not just emotionally comforting, it is physiologically healing. It is the body's own natural stress relief system. Fact number 9. Love can act as a natural painkiller by activating opioid receptors in the brain. Pain is one of the most universal human experiences, but love offers something extraordinary in response to it. Research has shown that love can actually reduce physical pain by activating the brain's opioid receptors, the same receptors targeted by powerful pain relief medications. In a study conducted at Stanford University, participants who viewed photographs of their romantic partners while experiencing mild pain reported feeling less discomfort compared to those who did not. Brain scans confirmed that looking at a loved one's image activated the same regions of the brain responsible for pain modulation. This means that the presence, or even just the thought, of someone we love can genuinely dull physical pain. Oxytocin also plays a role in this process, as it has natural analgesic properties. This discovery has profound implications for how we understand love's role in human health and well-being. True love does not just heal the heart emotionally, it may also heal the body physically. Fact number 10. The heart symbol actually originates from ancient depictions of the swan's neck curve. Swans mate for life. The heart symbol is one of the most universally recognized icons of love in the world, appearing on greeting cards, jewelry, flags, and screens billions of times a day. But where did it come from? One fascinating theory traces the origin of the heart shape to the graceful curve of a swan's neck. When two swans face each other, their necks form a perfect heart shape, and swans are one of nature's most famous symbols of lifelong devotion, as they typically mate for life and remain loyal to their partners. Another theory links the shape to ancient depictions of ivy leaves, which were associated with fidelity and eternal love in the ancient world. Whatever its true origin, the heart symbol has carried the meaning of love for centuries across cultures. And the connection to swans is especially poetic, because in choosing a shape to represent love, humanity may have unconsciously looked to one of the animal kingdom's most beautiful examples of true, lasting partnership. Fact number 11. True love involves deep acceptance of a person's flaws, not just their strengths. It is easy to love someone when everything is going well, when they are at their best, they're most charming, they're most capable. But true love is defined by something deeper and more challenging: the genuine acceptance of another person's imperfections, weaknesses, and flaws. Psychologists who study long-term relationships consistently find that couples who thrive are not those who idealize each other, but those who see each other clearly, including the difficult parts, and choose to love anyway. This kind of acceptance is not passive or resigned. It is an active, conscious decision to value a whole person rather than an idealized image. It means holding space for someone's bad days, their insecurities, their mistakes, and their quirks without withdrawing your affection. This does not mean tolerating harmful behavior. Boundaries are essential in healthy love. But within those boundaries, true love offers a rare and precious gift: the freedom to be fully yourself, imperfections and all, and still be deeply loved. Fact number 12. Psychologist Robert Sternberg's triangular theory says love has three components: intimacy, passion, and commitment. One of the most influential frameworks for understanding love comes from psychologist Robert Sternberg, who proposed the triangular theory of love. According to Sternberg, all forms of love can be understood through three fundamental components: intimacy, passion, and commitment. Intimacy refers to the feelings of closeness, connection, and emotional bonding, the sense of being truly known and understood by another person. Passion refers to the intense desire and attraction that draws two people together, the physical and romantic energy that fuels excitement. Commitment refers to the conscious decision to maintain a relationship and stay devoted to a partner over time. Sternberg argued that different combinations of these three elements produce different kinds of love. For example, passion alone creates infatuation. Intimacy and commitment without passion creates companionate love, and when all three are present together in full, Sternberg called it consummate love, the most complete and fulfilling form of romantic love. This theory helps us understand why love feels different at different stages of a relationship. Fact number 13. People in loving relationships tend to have higher self-esteem. One of the quiet but powerful benefits of true love is what it does for how we see ourselves. Research in psychology consistently shows that people who are in healthy, loving relationships tend to have significantly higher levels of self-esteem compared to those who are not. When we are genuinely loved by another person, accepted, valued, and supported, it reinforces our sense of worth. Being loved by someone we respect tells us, on a deep level, that we are worthy of love. This affirmation, offered consistently over time, gradually shapes how we perceive ourselves. Loving relationships also tend to encourage personal growth. A supportive partner believes in our potential, challenges us to be our best, and celebrates our achievements, all of which build confidence and a stronger sense of self. Of course, the relationship between love and self-esteem works in both directions. Healthier self-esteem also makes us better partners. But the positive impact of being truly loved on one's inner world is one of love's most underappreciated gifts. Fact number 14. True love often involves a willingness to prioritize another's happiness over your own comfort. One of the clearest signs of true love is the willingness to put another person's well-being above your own immediate comfort or convenience. This is not about self-sacrifice to the point of losing yourself. Healthy love always requires balance. But true love naturally produces a kind of generosity of spirit where the happiness of your loved one becomes genuinely important to you, sometimes more important than your own preferences in the moment. This might look like staying up late to support a partner through a difficult night, making a career compromise to support someone else's dream, or simply choosing the restaurant your loved one prefers even when you had something else in mind. Psychologists note that this willingness to prioritize another is a hallmark of what they call communal relationships. Relationships where both partners are invested in each other's flourishing, not just their own. When both people in a relationship carry this orientation toward each other, it creates a powerful foundation of care that sustains love through even the hardest seasons. Fact number 15. Attachment styles formed in childhood significantly influence how we love as adults. Long before we experience romantic love, we are already learning what love looks and feels like. From the very first months of life, the bonds we form with our caregivers, our parents or guardians, shape our fundamental understanding of love, safety, and connection. Psychologist John Bowlby was the first to describe this through attachment theory, which identifies distinct patterns of bonding that emerge in early childhood. Later researchers identified 4 main attachment styles: secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. People with a secure attachment style, those who had consistent, responsive caregiving, tend to form healthy, trusting romantic relationships in adulthood. Those with anxious attachment may fear abandonment and seek constant reassurance. Those with avoidant attachment may resist intimacy and emotional closeness. These patterns, formed before we can even speak, follow us into our adult relationships in powerful ways. The encouraging news is that awareness of our attachment style, and the right support, can help us move toward more secure, loving connections at any stage of life. Fact number 16. Love and anxiety share brain chemistry. That's why love can feel terrifying. Have you ever noticed that falling in love can feel a little like being afraid? Your heart races, your palms sweat, your thoughts become scattered, and yet you are not in danger. You are falling in love. This is no coincidence. Love and anxiety share remarkably similar brain chemistry, particularly in their use of adrenaline and norepinephrine, chemicals associated with the body's fight or flight response. When we are attracted to someone and emotionally vulnerable, our brain triggers many of the same physiological responses as it does in situations of perceived danger. The excitement of love and the fear of rejection, heartbreak, or loss are processed through overlapping neural systems. This is why falling in love can feel both thrilling and terrifying at the same time. It is also why many people who have experienced significant heartbreak can become anxious in new relationships. The brain remembers that love involves risk. Understanding this chemistry helps us approach the fear with compassion, recognizing it as a natural part of opening our hearts. Fact number 17. Genuine love grows stronger with shared vulnerability. One of the most counterintuitive truths about love is that it deepens not through perfection, but through vulnerability. When two people allow themselves to be truly seen, sharing their fears, insecurities, struggles, and authentic selves, love grows stronger and more resilient. Researcher Brené Brown, who has spent decades studying human connection, found that vulnerability is the birthplace of genuine intimacy. It is the willingness to say, "This is who I really am, with all my uncertainties and imperfections," that creates the conditions for deep, lasting love. When one partner opens up vulnerably and is met with acceptance rather than judgment, trust deepens exponentially. Over time, these shared moments of emotional honesty become the foundation that holds a relationship together through difficulty. Couples who are emotionally open with each other report higher relationship satisfaction, stronger feelings of closeness, and greater resilience during challenging times. True love, then, is not built by always being strong. It is built by being real. Fact number 18. People tend to fall in love with those who remind them, in some way, of themselves. There is an old saying that opposites attract, but research tells a more nuanced story. Studies in relationship psychology have consistently found that people are more likely to fall in love with someone who shares important similarities with them, whether in values, worldview, sense of humor, background, or even personality traits. This phenomenon is known as the similarity attraction effect. We tend to feel more comfortable, understood, and validated by people who think and see the world the way we do. Shared values in particular, things like honesty, ambition, spirituality, or family orientation, are among the strongest predictors of long-term relationship satisfaction. Interestingly, some researchers also note that people unconsciously look for partners who remind them of significant figures from their past, including parents or close family members, echoing familiar emotional patterns. This does not mean that differences cannot enrich a relationship. They certainly can. But at the core, love often finds its footing in the recognition of a kindred spirit. Fact number 19. True love requires conscious effort, not just feeling. Popular culture often portrays love as something that simply happens to us, a feeling that arrives, sweeps us away, and sustains itself without much work. But relationship experts and long-partnered couples alike will tell you a different story. True love is not just a feeling. It is a practice, a choice, and a daily commitment. The initial rush of romantic feeling, what psychologists call limerence, typically fades after 1 to 3 years. What sustains love beyond that point is intentional effort. Choosing to prioritize the relationship, communicating with care, expressing appreciation, repairing after conflict, and continuing to invest in the partnership even when it is not always easy. Relationship researcher John Gottman, who has studied thousands of couples over decades, found that the most successful long-term partners are those who make small, consistent deposits into what he calls the emotional bank account of the relationship. True love, then, is less like a feeling that happens to you and more like a garden you tend, with patience, attention, and care day after day. Fact number 20. Love is not just an emotion. Psychologists classify it as a motivation, like hunger or thirst. We commonly think of love as an emotion, something we feel, like joy or sadness. But psychologists who study love more carefully have come to a fascinating conclusion. Love is better classified as a motivation than a pure emotion. Like hunger, thirst, or the drive to sleep, love is a goal-directed state that compels us toward a specific aim, in this case, the formation and maintenance of a deep bond with another person. This distinction matters because motivations are more persistent, more driving, and more fundamental to behavior than ordinary emotions, which tend to be shorter-lived. Love can persist for years or decades, constantly shaping decisions, priorities, and actions. It can override other motivations, survive hardship, and adapt across time and circumstance. Understanding love as a motivational system helps explain why it is so central to human life. Not a luxury or a bonus, but a core drive as fundamental as our need for food and water. We are, at our deepest level, beings driven to connect and to love. Fact number 21. People in loving relationships live longer on average. One of the most remarkable discoveries in the science of love is its impact on longevity. Decades of research have consistently shown that people in happy, committed loving relationships tend to live longer than those who are single, divorced, or in unhappy partnerships. The effect is significant. Some studies suggest that being in a loving relationship can add years to your life. There are several reasons for this. Loving relationships reduce chronic stress, which is one of the leading contributors to premature aging and disease. They promote healthier behaviors. People with loving partners are more likely to eat well, exercise, avoid harmful habits, and seek medical care. They provide emotional support during illness and adversity, which accelerates healing. And they offer a sense of purpose and belonging, which is deeply tied to long-term well-being. Researchers who tracked thousands of people over many years found that social connection and loving relationships were among the strongest predictors of a long, healthy life, more powerful than diet, exercise, or even genetics. Fact number 22. Love lowers blood pressure. High blood pressure, or hypertension, is one of the most common and dangerous health conditions in the world, significantly increasing the risk of heart disease, stroke, and kidney failure. And science has found that love offers a measurable protective effect against it. Research has shown that people in loving, supportive relationships tend to have lower blood pressure than those who are single or in stressful partnerships. The mechanisms behind this are several. Loving relationships reduce overall stress levels, which directly impacts cardiovascular function. The physical affection that naturally occurs in loving relationships, hugging, touching, and closeness, triggers oxytocin release, which has a calming effect on the nervous system and can lower blood pressure. Even simply being in the presence of someone you love can have a measurable calming effect on your cardiovascular system. One study found that married people with hypertension had better blood pressure control than single people with the same diagnosis. Love, it turns out, is not just good for the soul, it is genuinely good for the heart. Fact number 23. Married or partnered people in loving relationships recover faster from illness. When illness strikes, having someone who truly loves you by your side makes a profound difference, not just emotionally, but physically. Research consistently shows that people in loving, committed relationships recover faster from illness, surgery, and injury than those who face health challenges alone. This effect has been documented across a wide range of conditions, from common infections to serious surgeries and chronic diseases. Several factors contribute to this remarkable finding. Loving partners provide practical support, helping with medications, appointments, and daily care, which reduces the physical burden of illness. They offer emotional comfort that reduces anxiety and fear, which in turn lowers stress hormones that can slow healing. They also tend to encourage compliance with medical treatment. Perhaps most powerfully, having someone to live for, a reason to get better, activates deep motivational drives that support recovery. Love, in these moments, becomes more than comfort. It becomes a genuine force in the body's healing process. Fact number 24. True love reduces the risk of depression and anxiety. Mental health is one of the great challenges of our time, with depression and anxiety affecting hundreds of millions of people worldwide. And while love is certainly not a substitute for professional mental health care, research has consistently shown that being in a loving, supportive relationship significantly reduces the risk of developing both depression and anxiety. The reasons are deeply rooted in human psychology. We are fundamentally social beings, and the need for love and belonging is one of our most basic psychological needs. When that need is met, when we feel truly seen, valued, and cared for by another person, it creates a buffer against the despair and fear that feed depression and anxiety. Loving partners provide comfort during hard times, help us maintain perspective, and remind us of our worth when our inner critic becomes too loud. Long-term studies have found that people in happy relationships have significantly lower rates of clinical depression than those who are lonely or in troubled partnerships. Love does not cure mental illness, but it creates the conditions where well-being can grow. Fact number 25. Holding a loved one's hand during stress measurably reduces neural threat response. It sounds almost too simple to be true, that holding someone's hand could change what happens in your brain during a moment of stress or fear. But science has confirmed it. In a landmark study conducted at the University of Virginia, researchers found that when people held the hand of a romantic partner during a stressful situation, their brains showed significantly less activity in areas associated with threat response compared to when they were alone or holding a stranger's hand. The neural systems that process fear and danger became quieter, calmer, simply through the physical connection with a loved one. The effect was strongest among couples who described their relationships as highly satisfying. This research beautifully illustrates how love exists not just in our emotions and thoughts, but in our bodies, reshaping our physiological responses to the world around us. The hand of someone who loves you sends a signal to your nervous system. You are not alone. You are safe. And that signal, as it turns out, is one of the most powerful medicines we have. Fact number 26. Love boosts your immune system. Beyond its effects on the heart and mind, true love also strengthens one of the body's most vital defense systems, the immune system. Research has shown that people in loving, supportive relationships have more robust immune function compared to those who are lonely or in high-conflict relationships. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone released during loving physical contact, has been shown to have anti-inflammatory properties and supports immune regulation. Lower cortisol levels, a natural benefit of loving relationships, also mean the immune system operates more effectively, since chronically high stress hormones are known to suppress immunity. Studies have found that married people, on average, have stronger immune responses to vaccines, recover more quickly from illness, and have lower rates of certain infections. Emotional well-being and physical health are far more interconnected than many people realize, and love sits at the intersection of both. When we are truly loved, our body knows it, and responds by becoming stronger and more resilient. Fact number 27. People in happy relationships report higher pain tolerance. Pain tolerance, the threshold at which pain becomes unbearable, varies significantly from person to person, and one of the surprising factors that influences it is love. Research has found that people in happy, loving relationships report a higher tolerance for physical pain than those who are not. This has been demonstrated in controlled laboratory settings where participants were exposed to mild pain stimuli while looking at photographs of their partners, strangers, or emotionally neutral images. Those who looked at their romantic partner's photo consistently showed a higher pain threshold. The explanation lies in brain chemistry. Love activates opioid receptors and triggers the release of endorphins, the body's natural painkillers. Additionally, the emotional security of being in a loving relationship reduces overall anxiety, and anxiety is known to amplify the perception of pain. This means that love literally changes how your body registers and responds to pain. It is one of many ways that our emotional lives and physical experiences are deeply intertwined. Fact number 28. Love promotes better sleep quality. Sleep is one of the most important pillars of physical and mental health, and love has a meaningful impact on how well we sleep. Research has found that people in satisfying, loving relationships tend to report better sleep quality, falling asleep more easily, sleeping more soundly, and waking feeling more rested. There are several reasons for this. The oxytocin released through physical closeness with a partner, particularly during the evening hours, has a calming effect on the nervous system that promotes relaxation and easier sleep onset. Emotional security, knowing that someone loves you and is there for you, reduces nighttime anxiety, which is one of the most common disruptors of sleep. The physical warmth of a loving presence also promotes the release of melatonin, the body's sleep hormone. Interestingly, some studies have also found that people who feel loved and secure are less likely to experience nightmares. Love, in this sense, does not just warm our hearts, it helps quiet our minds enough to truly rest. Fact number 29. Loving relationships are linked to lower rates of heart disease. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in the world, but research has identified one of the most unexpected protective factors against it: a loving relationship. Multiple large-scale studies have found that people in loving, committed relationships have significantly lower rates of heart disease compared to those who are single, divorced, or in unhappy partnerships. The cardiovascular benefits of love are wide-ranging. Lower stress levels mean less strain on the heart and blood vessels. Higher oxytocin from loving physical contact reduces inflammation, which is a key driver of heart disease. Better sleep, healthier lifestyle habits, and lower blood pressure, all associated with loving relationships, further protect the cardiovascular system. Some researchers have found that marriage and committed partnership are among the strongest social predictors of cardiovascular health. One comprehensive review of studies found that lonely individuals had a significantly higher risk of developing coronary heart disease. For the heart, love is not just poetry, it is medicine. Real, measurable, life-extending medicine. Fact number 30. Feeling loved reduces the biological markers of aging at a cellular level. Science has found evidence that love may literally slow the process of aging at the cellular level. One of the most fascinating discoveries in this area involves telomeres, tiny protective caps at the ends of our chromosomes that shorten with age and stress. Shorter telomeres are associated with faster biological aging and increased risk of age-related diseases. Remarkably, research has found that people in loving, supportive relationships tend to have longer telomeres than those who are chronically lonely or in high-stress relationships. This suggests that love, or more precisely, the stress reduction, emotional security, and physical connection that loving relationships provide, may actually slow cellular aging. Reduced cortisol, lower inflammation, better sleep, and stronger immune function all play a role in preserving telomere length. It may sound like science fiction, but the evidence is growing. The love we experience in our lives can influence not just how long we live, but how our bodies age at the deepest biological level. Love, it seems, reaches all the way down to our DNA. Fact number 31. Ancient Greeks had 6 different words for love: eros, philia, storge, agape, ludus, and pragma. In English, we use one word, love, to describe a vast range of emotional experiences, from the passion between romantic partners to the warmth between friends, the devotion of a parent, or the compassion we feel for strangers. The ancient Greeks recognized this richness and gave different names to different kinds of love. Eros referred to romantic, passionate love, the kind filled with desire and longing. Philia described deep friendship and the affectionate bond between close companions. Storge referred to the natural love and affection between family members, especially between parents and children. Agape was the highest form, unconditional, selfless, divine love, given freely without expecting anything in return. Ludus described the playful, flirtatious love of early courtship and light-hearted affection. And pragma referred to mature, enduring love, the practical, seasoned love that develops between long-term partners who have weathered life together. By having 6 words where we have one, the ancient Greeks remind us how multi-dimensional love truly is, and how different each form can feel. Fact number 32. Pragma was the Greek word for long-lasting, mature, enduring love. Of all the ancient Greek concepts of love, pragma may be the most underappreciated in modern times, and yet it is perhaps the most profound. Pragma refers to the deep, mature, enduring love that develops between people who have built a life together over many years. Unlike the excitement of eros or the playfulness of ludus, pragma is quiet and steady. It does not make your heart race in the same way. Instead, it settles deep into the bones of a relationship, providing warmth, stability, and an unspoken understanding between two people who have truly grown together. Pragma requires patience, compromise, tolerance, and a willingness to adapt as both individuals change over time. It is love shaped not just by feeling, but by shared history, shared struggle, and shared joy. The ancient Greeks considered it rare and precious, something that had to be cultivated deliberately over time rather than something that arrived suddenly. In a world that often celebrates only the drama of new love, pragma reminds us that the most beautiful love stories are often the quietest and the longest. Fact number 33. The concept of romantic love as a basis for marriage is relatively modern. It became widespread only in the 18th to 19th centuries. Throughout most of human history, marriage was primarily a social, economic, or political arrangement rather than a romantic one. Unions were negotiated between families, designed to secure alliances, consolidate wealth, ensure social stability, or produce heirs. The idea that two people should marry primarily because they are in love, and that romantic love is the most important foundation for a lifelong partnership, is a relatively recent development in Western history, becoming widespread only during the 18th and 19th centuries, influenced by the Romantic movement in arts and literature. Before that era, romantic love was certainly experienced and celebrated in poetry, music, and literature, but it was often seen as separate from, or even in conflict with, the practical institution of marriage. The shift toward love-based marriage was one of the most significant social transformations in human history, and it fundamentally changed how people thought about relationships, personal happiness, and the purpose of marriage. Today, love as the basis for lifelong partnership is considered essential in most cultures, but it is a remarkably modern ideal. Fact number 34. Ancient Egyptians believed love resided in the heart and wrote some of the world's earliest love poetry. The ancient Egyptians were among the first civilizations in recorded history to express romantic love through written poetry, and their words, composed more than 3,000 years ago, sound surprisingly familiar to modern ears. They believed that the heart was not just the physical organ that pumped blood, but the seat of the soul, the mind, and all emotion, including love. Egyptian love poems spoke of longing, beauty, devotion, and the sweet pain of separation in ways that resonate deeply even today. One ancient poem describes a young man's heart racing when he sees his beloved, his arms heavy with desire, his mouth unable to speak. Another speaks of a woman carrying her lover always in her heart, like a charm around her neck. These ancient texts remind us that love, with all its joy and longing, is not a modern invention. It is one of the oldest, most universal threads running through the tapestry of human experience, connecting us across thousands of years of history. Fact number 35. Shakespeare's works contain over 2,000 references to love. If any single writer can be said to have captured the full spectrum of human love in literature, it is William Shakespeare. Across his 37 plays and 154 sonnets, Shakespeare referenced love in its many forms more than 2,000 times. From the passionate young love of Romeo and Juliet, to the jealous madness of Othello, to the playful courtship in A Midsummer Night's Dream, to the tender devotion in The Winter's Tale, Shakespeare explored love from every imaginable angle. He wrote about love as a source of transcendent joy and as a cause of devastating destruction. He showed love as tender and as fierce, as honest and as deceitful, as unifying and as isolating. Many of his insights about love remain astonishingly accurate and relevant more than 400 years after they were written. Shakespeare understood that love is not simple or predictable. It is one of the most complex, contradictory, and powerful forces in human life. And for that reason, his words about love continue to resonate across generations, cultures, and languages. Fact number 36. Plato described love as a serious mental disease, in an admiring way. The great philosopher Plato had a fascinatingly complex view of love. In his dialogue Phaedrus, Plato described love as a serious mental disease. But he did not mean this as an insult. For Plato, love was a form of divine madness, an overwhelming force that disrupted rational thinking and drew the soul upward toward beauty, truth, and the divine. He believed that the experience of falling in love with another person's beauty, physical and spiritual, could serve as the first step on a philosophical journey toward understanding the highest forms of beauty and goodness in the universe. This idea became known as Platonic love, which originally referred not to friendship without romance, but to a spiritually elevated form of love that transcends the physical. Plato's view was that love's power to disturb, overwhelm, and consume us was precisely what made it so valuable. It shook us out of complacency and pointed us toward something greater than ourselves. Love, for Plato, was not weakness but awakening. Fact number 37. Medieval knights practiced courtly love, devotion to an idealized, often unattainable beloved. In the medieval courts of Europe, particularly between the 11th and 14th centuries, a remarkable romantic tradition emerged known as courtly love. This was a code of idealized, highly formalized love, typically between a knight and a noble lady, who was often married to someone else and therefore deliberately unattainable. Rather than being a source of frustration, this impossibility was considered part of what made the love so pure and ennobling. The knight was expected to worship his lady from a respectful distance, dedicate his deeds of valor to her honor, write her poetry, and demonstrate his worthiness through acts of courage and virtue. Courtly love elevated women to an idealized status and introduced into European culture many of the romantic concepts we still recognize today. The idea of devotion, service, longing, and love as a refining force that makes us better people. While courtly love was more literary ideal than practical reality, it profoundly shaped Western romantic culture and left an enduring mark on how we think and speak about love. Fact number 38. The Taj Mahal was built as an expression of true love by Emperor Shah Jahan for his wife Mumtaz Mahal. Among the most famous monuments to love ever created, the Taj Mahal stands as an enduring testament to the depth of human devotion. Built in Agra, India, during the 17th century by the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan, the Taj Mahal was commissioned as a mausoleum for his beloved wife, Mumtaz Mahal, who died in 1631 during the birth of their 14th child. Shah Jahan was said to have been devastated by her death, and according to historical accounts, he never fully recovered from the grief. He devoted the remainder of his life and enormous resources to creating a monument worthy of his love for her. More than 20,000 artisans and craftsmen worked for over 2 decades to complete it. The result is one of the most breathtakingly beautiful buildings in human history. A perfect white marble structure that glows in different colors throughout the day and reflects in the long pool before it. Shah Jahan himself was eventually buried beside Mumtaz Mahal, uniting them in death as in life. The Taj Mahal reminds the world that true love inspires extraordinary things. Fact number 39. Ancient Romans celebrated Lupercalia, a festival of love and fertility, before Valentine's Day existed. Long before St. Valentine's Day became the world's most celebrated romantic holiday, the ancient Romans had their own festival connected to love and fertility, Lupercalia. Celebrated on February 13th through 15th, this ancient festival was a vibrant, if somewhat unusual, affair by modern standards. It involved rituals meant to purify the city and promote health and fertility. As part of the celebration, young men would draw the names of young women from a lottery, and the pairs would be coupled together for the duration of the festival, and sometimes longer. Over time, as Christianity spread through the Roman Empire, many ancient festivals were absorbed or replaced by Christian observances. The connection between mid-February and romantic love persisted, and eventually became associated with the feast day of Saint Valentine. The holiday as we know it today, however, with hearts, chocolates, flowers, and love letters, developed much later, largely during the Middle Ages and the Victorian era. But at its roots lies this ancient Roman tradition of celebrating love at the midpoint of February. Fact number 40. Love letters date back at least 4,000 years to ancient Sumerian poetry. The love letter, that tender, intimate act of putting feelings for another person into written words, is one of the oldest forms of human communication. The earliest known examples of written romantic expression date back approximately 4,000 years, to the ancient Sumerians of Mesopotamia, in the region of modern-day Iraq. Clay tablets have been discovered containing what appear to be love songs and poems, some of which were written in the voice of a bride addressing a king or beloved partner. These ancient words speak of beauty, longing, and the sweet joy of union in ways that are surprisingly recognizable to modern readers. The tradition of love letters has continued unbroken across thousands of years and countless cultures. From ancient Egyptian papyrus letters, to Renaissance Italian sonnets, to Victorian handwritten notes, to today's digital messages and emails. The medium has changed, but the impulse remains the same. The deep human need to tell someone, "I love you," in the most personal and permanent way we can. Fact number 41. Couples who laugh together tend to have more satisfying relationships. Laughter may be the most underrated ingredient in a lasting, happy relationship. Research in relationship psychology has consistently found that couples who laugh together, who share a sense of humor and can find joy in ordinary moments, report significantly higher relationship satisfaction than those who do not. Shared laughter does several important things for a relationship. It bonds people together through a shared positive experience, releasing endorphins and oxytocin in both partners simultaneously. It diffuses tension during conflict, making it easier to navigate disagreements without lasting damage. It signals mutual understanding. When two people find the same things funny, It reflects a deep alignment of perspective and worldview. It also keeps the relationship playful and light, which helps counterbalance the inevitable weight of life's serious moments. Research by relationship scientist John Gottman found that couples who express fondness, humor, and affection toward each other are far more likely to remain together happily over the long term. A relationship that can laugh together can face almost anything together. Fact number 42. The 4 horsemen that predict relationship failure are contempt, criticism, defensiveness, and stonewalling. After decades of studying thousands of couples in his relationship laboratory, psychologist John Gottman identified 4 specific behaviors that are so corrosive to relationships that he called them the 4 horsemen, a reference to the biblical harbingers of destruction. The first is criticism, attacking a partner's character rather than addressing a specific behavior. The second is contempt, expressing disgust, mockery, or superiority toward a partner, which Gottman identified as the single most destructive force in a relationship. The third is defensiveness, responding to concerns with counter-accusations rather than listening. The fourth is stonewalling, emotionally withdrawing and shutting down communication entirely. Gottman found that when these 4 behaviors become habitual in a relationship, the outcome is predictable. The relationship will struggle to survive. The antidotes are equally clear. Express concerns without attacking character, treat each other with fundamental respect, take responsibility, and maintain emotional connection even during conflict. Awareness of these patterns is the first and most powerful step toward protecting the love you have built. Fact number 43. True love requires consistent communication, not just grand gestures. Popular culture celebrates grand romantic gestures, the spectacular proposal, the surprise trip, the grand declaration of love in the rain. And while these moments are beautiful, relationship science tells us that they are not what truly sustains love over time. What matters far more than any single dramatic moment is consistent, honest, caring communication, day after day, week after week, year after year. True love is built and maintained in thousands of small conversational moments. Listening attentively when a partner shares something important, checking in about how they are feeling, expressing appreciation for ordinary things, discussing difficulties calmly and respectfully. These everyday interactions form the real fabric of a loving relationship. Research by John Gottman found that couples who make regular small deposits of positive communication and emotional connection into their relationship, what he calls bids for connection, and positive responses to those bids, build relationships that can withstand conflict and grow stronger over time. Grand gestures are wonderful, but consistent, loving communication is what true love is made of. Fact number 44. Couples in long-term love report that friendship is the foundation of their bond. Ask people who have been happily together for 20, 30, or 40 years what the secret to their lasting love is, and a surprising number will give the same answer: friendship. Relationship research supports this deeply. Couples who report the highest levels of long-term relationship satisfaction consistently describe their partner as their best friend. This does not mean their relationship lacks romance or passion. It means that underneath those elements lies something even more durable: genuine liking, mutual respect, shared interests, and the comfort of truly knowing and enjoying each other's company. Psychologist John Gottman, who has spent decades studying long-term couples, found that the depth of friendship within a relationship is one of the strongest predictors of long-term happiness. Romantic love can wax and wane, but a deep friendship provides continuity and resilience through all of life's changes. Couples who are friends laugh together more, communicate better, trust each other more deeply, and navigate difficulty with greater grace. Friendship is not the opposite of romantic love. It is its most reliable foundation. Fact number 45. Shared experiences, especially novel and exciting ones, strengthen love. One of the most reliable ways to deepen love in a long-term relationship is deceptively simple: do new and exciting things together. Research by psychologist Arthur Aaron found that couples who regularly engage in novel, challenging, or adventurous activities together report greater relationship satisfaction and stronger feelings of love compared to couples who stick only to comfortable, familiar routines. The reason is partly neurological. New experiences together trigger dopamine release, the same chemical associated with early romantic excitement, essentially recreating some of the exhilaration of the early days of a relationship. Shared novelty also creates new shared memories, deepening the bond of a shared story. And navigating something unfamiliar or challenging together, whether it is traveling to a new country, learning a new skill, or simply trying a new restaurant, builds trust and teamwork. This principle is sometimes called the self-expansion model of love. Relationships thrive when both partners feel they are growing through the connection. Adventure, it turns out, is one of love's best friends. Fact number 46. True love survives conflict. It's not the absence of disagreement, but how you navigate it. A common misconception about true love is that it means living in harmony, free from conflict. In reality, all meaningful relationships involve disagreement. Two distinct people with their own histories, needs, and perspectives will inevitably see things differently sometimes. The mark of true love is not the absence of conflict, but the way it is handled. Research by relationship scientists, including John Gottman and Sue Johnson, consistently shows that what separates thriving couples from struggling ones is not whether they fight, but how they fight. Couples who approach conflict with mutual respect, a willingness to listen, and a commitment to finding common ground, even when they are upset, emerge from disagreements with their bond intact or even strengthened. Conflict, handled well, can actually deepen understanding and trust. It forces couples to communicate about important needs and values. What is genuinely damaging is not the conflict itself, but contempt, cruelty, chronic avoidance, and the failure to repair after difficult moments. True love says, "We will not always agree, but we will always come back to each other." Fact number 47. People in healthy, loving relationships give each other space and independence. One of the most important but often misunderstood aspects of true love is the role of space and independence. Many people associate love with constant togetherness. The idea that true partners want to spend every possible moment together and that any desire for solitude or independence is a sign of emotional distance. In reality, relationship research points to the opposite conclusion. Healthy, thriving couples maintain a strong sense of individual identity alongside their partnership. They support each other's individual interests, friendships, and personal pursuits. They respect each other's need for solitude and personal space. This balance between togetherness and separateness, what psychologists sometimes call differentiation, is actually a hallmark of emotionally mature love. Couples who maintain their individuality bring more richness to the relationship, experience less resentment, and tend to appreciate the time they do share more deeply. Poet Khalil Gibran captured this beautifully. Let there be spaces in your togetherness. True love does not consume the other person. It honors and protects their wholeness. Fact number 48. Acts of service are a powerful expression of love for many people. In his widely influential work on relationships, author Gary Chapman proposed the concept of love languages, the idea that different people experience and express love in fundamentally different ways. One of these languages is acts of service, expressing love through helpful actions rather than words or gifts. For people whose primary love language is acts of service, nothing says, "I love you" more clearly than a partner who takes care of something without being asked, who lightens their load during a difficult week, who remembers what needs doing and quietly handles it. This might look like cooking dinner when your partner is exhausted, handling a difficult errand, fixing something that has been broken, or taking care of the children so your partner can rest. The powerful thing about acts of service as a love language is that they communicate love through dedicated attention to the other person's well-being, through time, effort, and thoughtfulness. Understanding your partner's love language, and making an effort to speak it, is one of the most practical and powerful tools for sustaining love over the long term. Fact number 49. True love includes respecting boundaries. Boundaries are one of the most essential and sometimes misunderstood elements of healthy love. A boundary is a limit that a person sets around what they are comfortable with, emotionally, physically, mentally, and in terms of their time and energy. True love not only accepts a partner's boundaries, it actively respects and honors them. This is because genuine love is rooted in care for the other person's well-being, not just fulfillment of our own desires. When someone truly loves you, they want you to feel safe, respected, and comfortable. And they understand that boundaries are not rejections, but expressions of self-knowledge and self-care. Conversely, love that consistently pressures, dismisses, or violates another person's boundaries is not true love. It is a form of control. Research on healthy relationships consistently identifies mutual respect for boundaries as one of the foundational pillars of lasting, satisfying partnership. Learning to communicate our own boundaries clearly and to honor those of the people we love is one of the most important skills we can develop for a lifetime of healthy relationships. Fact number 50. Long-distance relationships can be just as strong as those in close proximity if communication is maintained. The popular belief that long-distance relationships are doomed is largely unsupported by research. Studies examining the quality of long-distance romantic relationships have found something surprising. Couples separated by significant geographic distance often report levels of relationship satisfaction, trust, and communication quality that are equal to, and in some cases higher than, couples who live near each other. The reason appears to lie in how long-distance couples approach communication. Because they cannot rely on casual, everyday proximity, they tend to be more intentional and deliberate about their conversations, sharing more deeply, listening more carefully, and expressing affection more explicitly. This intentionality builds strong emotional bonds. Research published in the Journal of Communication found that long-distance couples actually felt greater intimacy and idealization of their partners in some respects. Of course, long-distance relationships require clear expectations, trust, and a shared plan for the future. But the evidence is clear. Physical distance does not determine the depth or durability of love. What matters far more is the quality of connection.